Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Yes, I am extremely excited about this. And I bet that everyone that has ever seen any of our next guests' work are as excited as I am. And this is one of the most successful actors and directors that has ever stepped foot on in Comic Con Baltics, but apart from being the actor and director in the numerous television series and movies, he is the person that sparked an entire generation of immortal wannabes. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise to Adrian Paul!
See, you know, it's good. Yeah. You practiced yesterday, right?
Yes.
Who came yesterday? Oh, you're back for seconds, are you? That's good. Okay.
Hopefully, we'll find out something new. So let me just see if I can get it right. So you're a footballer turned a pharmaceutical pricing expert turned model turned dancer turned martial art specialist turned actor turned director turned philanthropist. Am I missing anything?
Turned father.
The most important.
The most important one, yeah, the father bit. You kind of got them in the order. Yeah, I've done all of those. I've done different things in my life, you know. It's kind of...
It's quite a journey, sir.
Yeah, well, you do when you've lived 400 years.
Yes, sir. So, this is weird. Like, you have been from, like, you have your journey to the top was just amazing. Like,
it's worse going back down to the bottom again.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, sir. So how did it come about that were you supposed to be a soccer player, like a football player? But by the way, soccer is an English term, right?
No, well, you know, it's interesting. They call soccer in America.
Right.
But in England, they call it football, as they do everywhere else. But my brother said, it's football, it's not soccer. And I actually showed him an article that in 1986, they changed the term soccer to football in England. So in actual fact, it is soccer. And I'm English, so, you know. And so that terminology is actually correct. But, you know, they denoted it because of American football and rugby, and they changed it a little bit. But yes, I started when I was a young boy playing football.
Well, since you're half Italian, half English, I don't think you had any choice.
No.
That's like just like in Lithuania.
You know what it's like in my house when Italy plays England?
Oh. What?
3 years ago they played, and my Italian family, oh, ciao, and I'm like, no, England, sorry. Right, no, traditore. Traitor, that means.
Who's the Italian? Which part is the Italian?
My mother from Florence, Italy.
Oh, the Italian mothers. They are. They're the head of the family. They're the captain.
Every woman's head of the family, aren't you, girls? Aren't you ladies head of the family or the men? See? See?
I am not going to argue with that.
No, you can't. You're busted.
Right. So you started off as a pharmaceutical pricing expert, pricing specialist.
I started off in a bank.
In a bank?
In a bank. I was doing, you know, like all the input when people had their checks and stuff. I was writing all their checks and writing all that stuff. And then I worked for a pharmaceutical company doing computer input forms. When computers were like the size of this room, you know, it was the forms you had to fill in so they could input it into the computer. I did all that boring stuff.
Right. And then the model career came along. How did that happen?
Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday. My girlfriend at the time entered me into a competition. Can your boyfriend be a male model?
That sounds like a nice competition.
And I went, what? You did what? Really? Yeah, and you're one of the finalists. Really? What do I have to do? You have to go meet them. Okay, so I went to meet them and I won. I'd never won anything in my life. You know, and I got a contract with one of the modeling agencies in England, and I started modeling, and it just kind of went from there. You know, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got to travel. I got to do what I wanted as a young boy. I wanted to do two things when I was a young boy: travel all over the world and meet lots of girls. And I got both of them. I was lucky.
I bet your girlfriend didn't know that you had that dream at the time she entered you in that competition.
No.
It's a trap.
Yeah. No, I was lucky to travel. I mean, I traveled to Portugal, I traveled to Germany, I traveled to Spain, doing all different shoots. I went to Italy. Actually, it's very funny because the modeling industry is very, how can I put it? Pervasive in the sense that everybody thinks they're very extra special in a lot of things. And there was one agent, his name was Luigi. Of course it was. And he was the most powerful agent in Milan. And Milan's the head. And I'd already twice tried to become one of the, ask if they would represent me. And I both got, no, you're too Italian. I'm English. No, you look Italian. Okay, all right. I mean, because it was all of the American look. You would have done well because he's like blue eyes, and that's at the time as the blue eyes American boys. So the third time I went in there, I saw this guy Luigi, and I spoke English, even though I speak fluent Italian. And I didn't tell them, and they took me on. And I still didn't tell them. So for the next month, I would go into the office and they'd be like talking about this person and that person and this, and I wouldn't say a thing. And all of a sudden, they turned around, I said something, and I went, va bene, io c'ho questa cosa, and they went, I didn't know you could speak Italian. I said, yeah. And I went, blah, 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 and they all went,
you mother...
I got a reputation in that you were the guy that got Luigi.
Double-crossed.
So it was kind of fun because, you know, it's always fun to have something over somebody, you know.
And modeling got you to Los Angeles.
No, I was dancing before that. I went to Paris. Okay. I went to Paris because a friend of mine was working with a company that was doing dance shows across Europe. And I liked dancing. I didn't know anything about it. I just liked to dance. I was in the clubs, the John Travolta eras of just, you know, shirt off on the floor, splits and all this type of stuff. I was young. And I went to see this, my friend, and I walked into this audition or this rehearsal, and they were all these dancers that I'd seen from England and some from the Lido in Paris. So they were, well, good dancers. Some, you know, black boys that were dancing that I'd seen that were awesome dancers, and they were English. So I got in there, and I came in, and they said, oh, did you come for the audition? I went, no, I just... came to see my friend. Is he here yet? No. But why don't you sit here and wait, and and you can just watch the rehearsal. So I sat there, I was watching them, I was watching their movements, and after an hour, I started talking to them. I started talking to the English guys. There was one girl I kind of liked, so I was like, oh, hi, hey. And an hour later, the guy who was coming in for the audition came in, and the teacher said, do you want to do the audition? I went, all right, fine. So I went in and I did the audition. I didn't do too bad because they hired me afterwards to do this, but I got so friendly with all the rest of the people there. They were going to Germany that day, and I happened to have my passport in my pocket, nothing else. So I left for Germany for 3 days with the passport, and that was it. And, you know, I just kind of started working, you know.
No stuff?
No, nothing. I had to buy underwear and stuff in Germany.
That is rock and roll.
Yeah, no, I loved it. It was great, you know. And I got that girl I liked, too. That was kind of...
Am I correct that you were known in the very close dancers community by the nickname The Butt?
Yes.
How did that nickname come about?
I told that story yesterday. I was doing a fashion show that was the first fashion show I ever did. And it was, somebody fell out at the last minute. So they said, Adrian, do you want to do it? And I said, sure. I'd never done one in my life. And it was all these haute couture stuff. And it was in front of Princess Anne or Princess Margaret? I can't remember. Princess Anne, I think it was. And she was at the end of the catwalk. And they put this jacket on me, and I had this very shiny silk shirt. So when I was walking, the jacket is falling off my shoulders, but I'm so scared that I'm walking down and the jacket is falling lower and lower and lower and lower. And when I got to the end of the catwalk, Princess Margaret's in front of me, and I walked up like that, and I had the jacket, and I went to throw the jacket, but I went like this. So I got the name. I put my butt in Princess Margaret's face. It was really good. So that's how I got the nickname.
You got your first signature move.
Yeah, it was good, yeah.
And how did you get to the United States?
A friend of mine was going to California. I mean, I'd been to New York before, and I went to California because he said, oh, I've got a place there. Do you want to come? I said, sure. So I went to Los Angeles, and I slept on his couch for a month or 2 months until I got my own place and they let me have their car. You know, it was a bunch of boys. You know, we just would hang out at the beach, and they would do silly things. And I eventually started working. I started working as a choreographer because I happened to go to a dinner. I got a modeling job as a pimp. In a fashion show, yeah, I was the pimp. It was like 15, 20 girls, and I was the pimp. It was supposed to be this act show. And so it was run by a company called Sebastian International, which is a hair company. And the owners were Italian. So we went to dinner afterwards, and I started talking to them. I was talking in Italian, and they said, actually, you're okay, you're pretty cool. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you looked like a bit of an ass because you played the pimp. I said, well, I was playing a role. So I started talking to them, and they started saying, oh, we need a choreographer. I said, well, actually, I choreograph. Do you want to see my reel? And they said, sure. So I gave them the reel, and I started working for them for about a year and a half, traveling from one city to another, doing hair shows where they would bring girls in and they would cut their hair or style it, and then we would show the thing. But the problem was we would have some girls that were already choreographed, already had their hair done, and that was easy because they were girls I choreographed before. A series of movements to move around the chairs, they would do different things. And then there were the girls that would just come in to actually have their hair done. And in this one show, the idea was that, let's say I'm in the chair. The idea was to get up at the chair and walk around the chair like this, and then walk up and down, and the girls would walk around and they'd show their hair, and they're doing like this, and they're walking up, and they blah, 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 they do their turn, you know, this type of stuff. And this one girl, she had her hair cut, and she was so upset, she got up and went, and left. She was she just left. I went, oh, excuse me, and she never came back. So, you know, sometimes it was drastic for hair. So I started working for them. I worked for them for about a year and a half, and then I got an audition for a show called The Colbys, and I started working as an actor.
Traveling with a bunch of models. That sounds horrible. Very tiring.
Yeah.
I recognize that glance.
Well, what am I supposed to say? Like, no, it was fun. It was, you know, it's a job too. It is work. So.
Absolutely. And then you started acting, but did you like? What was your experience in acting, or were you just a natural, or you had?
No, I studied. I was working. You know, I always believe that when you know what you're supposed to do. You don't know what you want a lot of the time. You never know what you want. You kind of say, I want to be a tennis player. I want to be an accountant. I want to be an engineer. I want to be in IT. But you never really know what it is until you travel and things happen and you decide where you're going to go. So I kind of knew I wanted to be an actor or on stage, but I wasn't quite sure. And I had, you know, I went into different auditions, different acting study groups that I would learn things, and I suddenly found that that's what I really wanted to do.
One of your larger roles, I'd say, you were an English Italian playing a Russian ballet dancer in TV series.
An American TV series.
In American TV series. That sounds, that sounds...
Complicated, yeah, was rather. But it was fun. It was off the, I don't know if any of you know the film White Nights with Prisijunkite.
Yeah.
That was what it was based off of. The funny thing was, the mentality of what people... There was a line in it. There was an actor called Charlton Heston. I mentioned him yesterday, and he was very well known. And one of the lines was given to him. The story was that I was defecting from the Soviet Union, and I was going to stay there because I was in love with this the girl called Bliss. Bliss, what a name. Anyway, and so I was escaping, and the way I escaped was jumping from like 6 stories, and jumping and landing. And the line was, well, lucky you landed like that, but that's probably because you're a dancer. Really? Like, so Charlton Heston looked at the line, he went, I'm not saying that, that's stupid. Here, you say it. And he gave it to the other actress to say the line. And so it was just funny stuff like that when you have power, I noticed that you can do certain things like that.
Absolutely. How did you, how many parts, small parts or larger parts did you get before landing the Highlander series?
Well, I actually did a series, Colby's, I did a series War of the Worlds. Yes, I did 3 or 4 different movies. I did a movie with Tom Berenger. I did an off-Broadway play. So I was working for about 3 or 4 or 5 years.
And then the day came along. What was the casting process of the Highlander series?
Well, that was a process because I was standing in a room full of producers, casting director, associate producer, and I walked in and sat down and said, you don't need to look any further, I'm the guy that you want. And they went, you're rather confident, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And I truly believed it, actually. I truly believed I was. But that took a process. It took 3 weeks for them to give me something to read, and then it gave me another 2 months for them to go through the process and choose 5 people. And then that went through Paramount testing, and then it went down to 2 people, and then that took about 2 or 3 weeks. And then my agent said, no, it's not going to be yours. They haven't called us. I'm going on vacation. So he went on vacation. And I got a call one day from his assistant saying, you got the role, and you're leaving in 2 days to start shooting next week. They always do that. In Hollywood, they always do that. It's the last minute. They give you something at the very last minute. I don't know why, because they have the script like 2 or 3 months ahead of time. But they just basically said, they always do it. They say, no, you're leaving tomorrow, and you've got to start working. So.
Your background as a martial artist, well, it's pretty impressive. You've done a lot of things. What about the sword fighting? Were you qualified? Like, did you train as a in sword fighting?
I'd done a little bit beforehand. It happened to be I'd done a katana with a ex-Vietnam vet. Who the first thing he taught me, he said, "Okay, let me just teach you this." I'm like, right. So if somebody comes to punch you, he says, there's this shot. I said, what's that? And he did this angle, which is when you block something. If I'm, yeah, come here. Oh, I'm going to do you. All right. So if you throw a punch, I'm doing this. See your eyes? Right? And that's what he caught me right in the eye. And I'm like, well, this. I went, okay, where are you? Like, and so I learned that, and that so I learned a little bit from him, but then when I started doing Highlander itself, I worked with a guy called Bob Anderson who did Star Wars, he did Lord of the Rings, he did First Night, he did so many things. Amazing choreographer, beautiful man. He was 65 or 70 when I started working with him, and he was throwing himself all over the floor. And I'm like, Bob, get up. But he was an artist, and by that I mean he would not just take a sword fight and put it together, but he would look at it in the area and go into the area and say, okay, we have a room here. Okay, let me look at this room. All right, we've got a table here. Great. Okay, there's a table. And then this, okay, we'll have a stunt to go over here. Then we'll do this cut here. We'll roll back on. So he would create the fight from the room, as well as the fact from the choreography, it's about the characters between the people. It's not just bang, 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 because that is boring. There are a lot of films and TV shows that is lots of action, but afterwards you come out and you don't feel like you really connected with it. And the reason why is because there's no discussion or conversation between the people. And that was what Bob Anderson was able to do. He created this visual that you would understand the relationship between the fighters, as well as making it exciting, as well as making it part of the other thing, which was the other character in the room, was the location. So that's what he did.
How long did it take to, how many practice takes did it take you to memorize the whole choreography and to work it into your brain so that it would go fluently?
To start with, it was a little bit, it would take 2 or 3 days, but there were other fights I would do in a heartbeat. Literally, show me this and we'll do it. Let's film it. I did a show called Duende, which was one of the Highlander episodes, where a guy called Anthony DeLongis came on, and we were doing this thing called Espada y Daga, which is 2 swords. And we would literally rehearse while I was shooting another scene. I would finish the scene. While they finished the lighting, I would rehearse. I would come on, do the light, rehearse. And then there was another one we actually rehearsed for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes before, and then we did the whole fight. Wow. So it's like anything, you get to learn to do things. And, now I have the sword experience, which...
You had 100 and something episodes of...
119.
119.
Precise.
Six seasons, yes, sir. And at least as many fights, sword fights. Like, did you ever get injured doing the fights?
Injured, yeah. This finger, not this one, this finger was always bloody. I had stitches in this finger, I had stitches here, I had stitches here. And, it's part of what it is. It's just...
It's a blood sport.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed doing it. It was fun. I liked doing physical stuff. It was fun. So, and it was a time when all the kung fu was coming out, all the Asian kung fu movies were coming out, and you see the actor, the Jackie Chans, the Bruce Lees, and that doing the actual fights. So in Hollywood, it was starting to become the time of Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal, and you could see them doing it. And I said, well, if I'm an action star, I need to know what I'm doing. So I went and studied, and that's,
Who's your favorite action movie star?
Action movie star, what, old or new? That's a...
At the time you started Highlander, because we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, we had Sylvester Stallone, Jackie Chan.
Sylvester Stallone was cool, he was fun. Although I met him a couple of times. Anyway, we'll leave that alone. Stallone was cool, and but I liked the Jackie Chans. I liked Bruce Lee because it was just the fights, the stuff that we did as the fights.
The GOAT.
It was he's definitely the GOAT, greatest of all time. That was Gio. Some of you just thought. I wondered what it was when somebody said, "Messi's the GOAT." What's that? Does he bleat? No, it's not.
Were you a fan of this band, The Who, growing up?
Yeah. The Who was a big English band at the time. And
it was probably the biggest band in the 70s in the world.
Yeah, and Roger Daltrey when he came on.
That's what I'm...
Yeah, I know you were going there.
Yeah.
Roger Daltrey was so cool. He was just like he was like Christophe Lambert. Most of the big stars, they're very natural. They're very easy people to work with. And Roger was like that. Me and him just had got on, I actually saved his life. Did you know this story?
They probably don't.
Okay, you don't. All right, so one night, Elizabeth Grayson, who played Amanda, and myself, we were doing the Scone of Scone episode where we've been out all day long, and we've been having such a great time because, we were doing this golf thing, this old golf thing. And every time Roger and I would start the scene, we had a cow in the background. And we'd say, okay, so Roger, blah, 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 blah. And somebody hear, moo. Okay, cut. Let's just do that again. It's okay, it won't happen again. Okay, ready and action. So Roger, what do you think? This cow wouldn't stop mooing. So we'd had a great time. So we went back to the hotel, and as we're at the hotel, we're eating dinner, and Roger's facing me here. Elizabeth is sitting here. I'll always remember this. And we're telling stories, and we were always telling jokes. And all of a sudden, Roger goes, and we went, yeah, what are you doing? And suddenly he starts turning red. And Elizabeth does this. I'm like, what, me? Okay. So I went up, and I got up behind him, and he's like, ugh. I'm like, what? So I did the Heimlich, got the Heimlich, and he had some piece of bread in the back of his throat.
The Who fans all across the world are grateful.
Yeah, and I was like, really? We thought he was joking. He wasn't. He was actually really joking. Joking and choking, they're both the same. Really.
Wow, so you saved his life for reals?
His life. I mean, I stopped him from choking for a little bit. I don't know if I saved his life, but still.
Yeah, you did.
But still.
What about, like, back in the day? How much the whole CGI, special effects thing? Like, because back in the day, how much did you get from like, in your scenes, in the series, television series, Highlander, how much was CGI and how much was real thing? Because
did you guys saw when we first started the sparks on the swords, right?
Yes, sir.
The sparks on the swords, they would have, look. Here's the sword that we would have, right? And what they would do, there would be an electrical wire that would attach to the bottom here that would go through my clothes, down underneath through my pants. The wire would then attach to a battery. The plus. On the other side, he would have the wire. It would go down his clothes and touch to the minus. So every time we touched, it would spark. But can you imagine having a wire and you're trying to do action stuff like this, and you'd be trying to get the wire off. So, and you'd have a guy behind you with the wire. So it wasn't practical for us to actually use very often. So they stopped doing it, and then they started putting CGI. The other stuff like the quickening. The quickenings was all real stuff.
The quickening, my young friends, is when an immortal gets his head cut off and the energy leaves his body.
Yeah.
And how did they do that?
Well, fireworks basically. But the problem with those things are they're live fireworks. They're live explosions. And I was one time doing the like this, and I get an ember that went right into my mouth. And I'm like, And another time I was doing Endgame, which was the big, this was huge. I was on top of this metal girder, and they had these massive explosions, big explosions. And they're dangerous. They've actually killed people before. This is not funny. And apparently what happened, well, these explosions were so big, I was on top of this metal grate, and the grate is vibrating. I can feel it. I'm thinking, I'm hoping this thing doesn't collapse. But after the take, we found, if this is the camera here, and all the explosions are happening over there, there was a piece of metal that had flown out and had landed behind the camera. If that had hit somebody, it would have killed them. So there are times when it is very dangerous, those things. So the explosions were, there was one, explosions on Highlander were normal. I was doing a flashback for the 1917 where I was playing a medic, and I'm at the back of a truck, and the idea was I was supposed to move, and suddenly the explosions start happening. We're getting bombed. So I run from here to this one, and I run from there to this one, and I run from here to this one, because it's all choreographed, because I know where the explosions are. And we said to the special effects guy, only put half charges in there, because it's dangerous otherwise. Oh yes, oui, monsieur, it is half charges, no problem. And I'm like, okay, great. So we rehearsed it. Great. ready, and everybody ready, yes, everybody live, yes, go live. So everybody's and rolling, and boom. I turn around and go, and suddenly there was the idea of a stuntman being blown up. This thing went boom, and he went flying. All of a sudden, all this stuff went in the air. You couldn't see anything. So now I'm running, hoping I'm going through the right area, and boom, and boom. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't tread on something that I'm not supposed to. So the guy got fired afterwards because it was dangerous. So, you know, sometimes on Highlander, it was a little tricky on certain things that we did.
Wow. So it was actually, it sounds like it was a dangerous job.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, the audience likes to be fooled. Is there any spoilers that now you can tell about the filming of what we saw on the screen that wasn't real and was faked?
Yeah, the cutting off of her head, that wasn't real. Didn't he know that?
What?
A lot of the time I'd always get...
Ruined my childhood.
I'd go through a metal detector, you know, and the guys on the security go, where's your sword? Do you think I'm carrying a sword, you know? Or people would say, Jim Burns, who played Joe, he said, because I always get the same question, and I'm sure a lot of you would ask the same question, where does the sword come from? Especially if I'm wearing t-shirt, all of a sudden the sword appears, right? And so Bill Panzer used to say, the sword's there when you need it. So I would always try and wear, whenever I knew I was doing sword work, I would wear a long jacket or longer jacket. But Jim Burns said, don't worry, just tell them the sword comes from the same place the music does.
I don't know what that means.
Well, think about it. The music comes in afterwards. You don't film a scene, there's no music in the scene. The scene is like the music comes in afterwards. So
Duncan MacLeod was also a magician.
Yeah.
Usually, like if you're portraying a character, it so happens that he has a catchphrase. Did Duncan MacLeod had a catchphrase? I don't think so. Do people on this, like, because people tend to, like, on the street, people tend to ask the actor to say the phrase. Do you get asked to say the phrase, or do people just challenge you to a sword fight?
I have been challenged to sword fights before, yes.
Where are they buried?
If I told you that, I'd have to kill you. The catchphrase is simple. There can be only one.
There can be only one.
That's the catchphrase. I mean,
yes, sir.
So many people have asked. And usually people say, can you do it in a Scottish accent? I'm not Scottish. There can be only one. Yes. I could do it as Sean Connery, you know. Sean has this type of thing going on, yes. Thank you.
Right. By the way, if you want to ask a question, we have a mic right there, so please feel free. Meanwhile, I wanted to ask you, because obviously, well, you like katanas. What are the 3 best swords of all time?
Okay, that's a difficult question because everything is made for a certain purpose. The curved swords that you see, you know, those curved ones are usually made for, like the cutlasses and the scimitars, they're made for horseback because you're cutting down on the opponent. The very long, large swords, the tall ones that are literally this big.
The two-handed ones?
Yeah, they were just used for one swipe, like this, and that was for horses. So when a horse charge was coming, they cut the legs off the horse, and as the horse fell like this, the rider's head would be exposed, and they come back down and cut the rider. So every sword was used for a different reason. The katana was used. It's the speed of the katana. It's very fast, and it's light, but it's strong. So they used it for very quick cuts. You know, the katana, you don't go bang, 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 bang. It's usually one cut, done, right? So it's not, each sword is made. So what's the best sword? If you're still alive, it's the best sword.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
So, I'd like to ask you, what was your favorite moment of filming Highlander series? Maybe you remember, I don't know, it could be anything.
Well, I said yesterday, one of the best memories I have is doing a sword fight and a tango on the Eiffel Tower. I don't think anybody's ever done that before in one day, especially. That was a great moment. But I think some of the people that I met on the show, Stan Kirsch, Elizabeth Grayson, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget those people. They're friends of mine now. So those are great moments for me.
Great, thanks. And one other question. You've been living for 400 years. So how you stay that handsome?
How do I say what?
How you stay that handsome? What's your secret?
That handsome? Yeah. How do I answer that? I don't know. I mean, I stay youngish because the body doesn't lie. Before when I was doing action sequences, I could fall on the floor and get back up again. Now I fall on the floor and I go, no, I think I'll just lay here for a minute.
Father Time is undefeated.
Just a little bit longer. That's better. Okay, so the physical stuff, is I think it's the way I don't smoke, I don't drink really. I don't party. I think there's certain things that you do in life that is excessive that causes you to age. So my mother, I think, was the best other reason.
Yeah, it's Italian, right? She's Italian. Yeah.
She's Italian, yes. She was. God bless her. Hey, Mum.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Just one second, please. Let's talk about the episode Homeland and the importance of it in your, not just in the series, but in your career as well.
Yeah, I mean, Homeland was the first one I directed. Although when you see the series, when they first show you the opening credits, they show you all the different scenes and things that happen, etc. And they asked me the season before to go to Scotland and shoot these scenes. And I said, well, why don't we use those scenes and me shooting in Scotland to actually use them in Homeland, which was the opening episode, which we did. I don't regret it, but I mean, that story is way too long to tell. I can't tell that story. It's way too long going to Scotland. But anyway, doing Homeland was... I understood Homeland because it was the core of the series. It was who Duncan MacLeod was, where he came from. You understood that. And so being able to direct it and act in it was actually easier than some of the other episodes.
Was it educational for you did you find out more stuff about the director's job as a whole that you didn't realize before?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to direct, was to see what a director did when he says, I'm using a long 200mm lens, what that did. Or, I need you to not move so much in frame. I didn't understand that. It's because the depth of field in a 200mm lens, you'd be out of focus if you did this. So you could do this, but you couldn't do this. So understanding those things and understanding how a structure of a director would work was why I wanted to direct some of the episodes, which I did, and I had a great time doing it. I loved it.
Right. Sir.
Hello again. I have a kind of two-in-one question. As you may know, there's a history in the early days about the long hair, which goes through the line. So you had that ponytail during the series, other films. So was it your real hair? Was it your real hair? And why did you cut it off if it was real?
Okay.
And did you like it?
Okay, 3 questions in one. Yes. The first season, my hair was not real. It was weaved in, which hurt extremely. Because I had it done by a black woman, and when they weave it in, what they do is they take your hair, they do it like this, and they create an anchor, and then they'll do another one here, another one here, another one here, and then they take the weave and they put that, and then they sew that into the weave. And as they're doing that, they're pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling your hair. The top of my head after 2 days was so swollen I could press it like this. So it was really uncomfortable. So after the first season, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. So my hair had grown out long enough at that point to about here that I could, so after that, it was my hair. So from season 2 onwards. Why did I cut it? Because it's a lot easier with short hair. And, you know, it was also the reason if I wanted it to be a symbol. If you look at what it was a symbol of Richie's death. MacLeod had come from the Indian nation. And in the Indian nation, you know, taking some of your hair as a mark of respect was why it was done in the series for when Richie was killed off.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Right. Thank you. I actually just found out about the sword experience. So you became a teacher to people who want to learn the art of sword fighting.
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
A young boy needed some money for my charity, and I decided to put on an event because people had asked me so many times, would you do a sword demo or a sword video or something of that nature? And I said, sure. And I had a lot of people come, and I thought, okay, maybe this is something that people want to do. So I started it just showing people some moves, some choreography moves. And then that changed to taking them to different places like castles and vineyards and amazing buildings to do this event in. And I'd start putting a story with it. And then that went to creating a story and then doing the choreography that people then become the actors in. So now I actually have one, I have some coming up. I have one in Bergheim in Germany. I have one in London. I have one in France coming up. So I do about 25 of these a year. But the thing is, I teach sword work. You talked about the best sword. It's still about angles. Still about where your angles are. What is your target? Whether you're a martial artist or whether you're trying to do this for... actually, let me show you. Come here. Actually, I'm going to show you. I'll just come up. This young man was one of the people that I actually work with. And he came to London last year. And he's from here, right? Okay, so when he comes to me, I teach people how to do the regular points. Don't worry, I haven't hurt too many people. So the target of this, we have a numbering system. So the numbering system would show me that I would need to, stay still, don't move. I would be attaching him for a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4. So when we start, we basically learn how to turn the bokken over, how to turn it over, how to swing it from 1. So I know that from 1, 2, 3, 4, that I'm targeting that area. That also helps me when I'm opposite him to know that he's going to hit it at that position. You asked me about accidents. The reason why there were accidents, because if I said I'm doing a number 1, all of a sudden the number 1 would do this, right? That's not targeting. So if I went to parry it here, it would hit me, or I would hit him here and hit him on the hands because his hands are not in the right position. So I teach people, do 1, 2, 3, 4, because you know it, right? So yeah, you hit 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I knew there was a table behind me. Get out the way. So the idea is to be able to target your opponent. And simple things, but there are so many different things in sword work that if you're doing a number 1, if he does a number 1 this way here, and he does a number 2. Now, I've done a 2 facing him, but the thing everybody wants to do is turn this like this. And what happens? This then hits you. So all these small things we teach in the sword experience, and that then goes into the story. I tell his character, he's the bad guy, so he wants to kill me. So he comes at me, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go, 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 go. 4, 3, 4, like this, right? And then I do this, and then I go, boom. And I teach how to make it look to the audience that I've hit him. So from here, if I want to hit him on the head and I want to hit him here, like this, it's not me that is doing the action, it's him. Because what happens is when I hit him this way here, put this down, put that down. When I put this down like that, he turns his head that way, like this. Do it go, boom. So now, if I did this, do it again, that doesn't look like I hit him, does it? Now, if I go across his eyes, here, and I do it, go, ready? There. From you, it looked like I hit him. Did it?
Yes, yes.
Did it look like I hit him?
Yes!
Thank you. Wakey, I know you're mesmerized by this. So these are all the little things I teach when we're working it, because a sword is a sword. If I want to cut him here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, exactly, that's number 9. So there's 12 numbers that we have that we teach the proper handling, the grip, how hard you're swinging. This, for instance, most people, when they take a sword, they will grip it like this. But in actual reality, you should be gripping it like this, because these fingers don't hold it. The minute these fingers hold it, hit me on this side. Hard, with your hand. Yeah, do it. Right, now, release those 2 fingers and do it. Same thing, yeah, do the same thing again. Do it again. Same thing with those 2 fingers. Did you hear the difference? I don't know if you can hear the difference between, I'll hold it up. Hold it up. This and this. There's a slight difference, and the difference is the amount of weight I'm putting, because if I put all my weight in it, that's going to happen, and that's dangerous. So all those little things are what I learned. Thank you. Hold on to that. Thank you. Thank you, Laurus. Thank you. So all those little things I learned on doing Highlander, because, and this was something else, Bob Anderson taught me this one. I don't know if I can do it or not, but let's see. No, well, kind of. Bob Anderson told me that. But all these little things we teach people because it's to keep people safe, as well as the fact when you're doing it for real, you want to hit your target, because targets only appear occasionally, like in fights. So you have to find what that target is to score the point, knock the person out, or keep them safe. So that's what I do in the sword experience.
Sir, it is an absolute pleasure and honor meeting you, and this loud applause of the audience is for you. Thank you so very much for coming to Comic Con Baltics. And for all of you, Mr. Paul will have a photo session at 3:15. So please, it's right downstairs, right?
Yeah, I'll be right downstairs where we're signing as well. So for those of you that haven't had a photo or an autograph, I'll be downstairs. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Paul.